Alright, so in this video, I'm going to discuss what you should do if your country becomes a permanent dictatorship. Now, what is a permanent dictatorship? Permanent dictatorship is when one person or one group, usually it's 10 to 15 or more people, it's a finite group, they start controlling the nation. And people watching my channel or this video exactly know which countries I'm talking about. Once that starts happening, then it's almost that the person becomes a ruler, right? Once the person becomes the ruler, the elections are always a formality. You cannot take them out. And once extreme power comes, that's when a lot of problems start. When that starts happening, is there any hope? Should you stick on to that country? Should you stay there? Should you leave? Now, staying or leaving is an individual decision. Obviously, smart people will always have options. And I'm going to discuss some interesting options. I'm also going to discuss the strategy and then the options that are applicable. But before we deep dive in this strategy and the options, if you haven't subscribed, take a moment to go ahead and subscribe to this channel. It helps this channel grow, helps me bring you more valuable content. Typically, dictatorships, countries that have gotten to that stage, historically, they've always had restrictions, right? That it's been a very restrictive country. Examples of a restrictive country is that the country is not letting the citizens move freely. In some weird cases, they would not let the citizens move any money outside, right? You live in the country, you're a citizen of that country. They're going to put some severe capital control restrictions, which absolutely don't make any sense. You cannot travel with money, you cannot move money through your bank if you're under the control of that country. And there's some drastic draconian measures that keep getting pumped every day, every month, every year, which chokes you up, right? Monetarily, financially, it's your money, it's your capital, but you just can't do anything with it. It's locked into the bank. You can't keep it with you. So there are those kind of crazy draconian measures that, such countries would employ. Now, the strategy should be before I get to the strategy, I think one of the biggest hurdles that a lot of people from such countries face is they are only allowed to keep one nationality. They're usually taught to be a big nationalist. So if you aren't a big nationalist, then there's an issue, right? The citizenship is restricted, right? There's a ban on any kind of dual citizenship. It's almost a criminal act in some countries to even get another citizenship. So when you have those kind of restrictions, let's say you're still connected to the country. Someone coming from a country would always be connected to the country. The first step is to balance your ties. Either you want to completely eliminate your ties from the country if you don't like it. Now, if you like your country and if you're a nationalist, then it's a completely different story. But let's say you're not a nationalist, you don't believe in that country. They're better countries. It's a third world country. You absolutely hate it or you don't believe in it. You want to move out from it. Then it's but obvious that you're going to try to cut your ties completely from that country. Other people will try to balance their ties, right? I'm going to discuss a balanced situation where you want to get your funds, your cash flow out of the country. One of the strategies is start off with residencies, right? You got to plant your flags. Or my theory is slightly different. My theory is you plant the seeds, right? You plant the seeds, water the seeds, maintain all those residencies outside, start creating multiple options, create so many options that you start feeling strong, you start feeling confident, you have your cards, right? You don't show your cards, you have your cards, and when the right time comes, you have options to exercise, right? So you start off with all these residencies. Of course, you're worried about giving away your citizenships. That's fine because I guess, again, you want to sort out your matters in the midterm. Once you're completely freed up with all those attachments to this country, then you can immediately switch your citizenship, switch your nationality if that's what you want, and then you can acquire multiple nationalities, more nationalities. Now, one of the quickest ways of getting a citizenship is the CBI process. Now, easier said than done. It has unnecessary scrutiny, right? It could attract a lot of unnecessary attention. A lot of people, knowingly or unknowingly, aren't in a situation to face in-depth investigations, right? That come along with some of these options. They're third parties that are supplied with a ton of information. And then what happens, even if you're clear today, that information that you've supplied to all these third parties could haunt you in future, because you're giving not only all your financial information to these third parties, but also you're giving your citizenships or affiliation related information to these third parties. So these are, and some of these get blacklisted, and some of them are absolutely dubious characters. So they might tell the government one story, but they might sell your information. Who knows, right? We don't know much about these blacklisted companies. What are they blacklisted for? What happens with them? The government usually likes keeping these agencies so they can wash off their hands when the bad time comes, and they don't take any responsibility. So the CBI options, although are okay, aren't the best ones. So don't rely on those for your citizenships. What's perfectly reliable is natural, good, solid residencies in strategic locations, right? You have the C4, maybe you have a residency from a C4. Let's talk about the Mercosur. You could have a residency from the Mercosur. Let's say you're talking about a North American citizenship. You could have an option in Mexico. The residency for Mexico, most of the people on my channel usually should qualify for the Mexican residency. If not, there are tons of other options around the world. Maybe you want a residency in Europe. Maybe you want an option in the EU, right? So that should be the strategy. You plant the seeds, and then you water them. You water your options, and then you let them grow in due course. And once they are grown, it's time when the fruits arrive, right? When it's time for that citizenship, you pluck the fruit, and that should be the strategy. What are some of the options? Now, in C4, you have four, obviously, as the number indicates, there are four options. You have Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and Nicaragua. One of my personal favorites is Guatemala. We work with attorneys and help people in Guatemala. So that's the C4 option. The second option could be in Mercosur. You have Argentina, Chile, Peru. Argentina and Peru is a 2-year option, so you can get the residency and then convert to a citizenship in a couple of years. A lot of people talk about the worldwide taxation and all that kind of stuff. Now, what they don't understand is that the worldwide taxation, it doesn't go by citizenship, unlike in the U.S. Right here, you get the citizenship, you bear the consequences of a year or two of taxation. That's fine, pay those couple of years, right? And then after that, because you have that Mercosur passport, you could switch your residency in future, right? You could go to Paraguay, which also has the Mercosur flexibility. So you get your citizenship from one country, let's say it's Peru or Argentina, or whichever, Chile. And then once you have the strongest passport in the world, let's say you strike a tax residency in Peru in future. So that's how you play with the citizenship, and play in the sense you strategize, right, with your citizenship and your residency options. With North America's the best one, the best passport, the best citizenship, the best residency is Mexico, one of my personal all-time favorites. The easiest way to qualify for Mexico is a modest bank balance of 58K for a year. If you have that, you are eligible. Or let's say you're earning $4,000, approximately $4,000 a month, you can qualify for Mexico. Fairly easy. You start the clock with Mexico, and then in due course you're looking at that beautiful lush green passport. It has all the bells and whistles. It is a tank. So that's the Mexican option. In Europe, if you're looking for non-EU, a lot of my viewers realize the importance of a non-EU citizenship. If that's the case, then Serbia is the best option. You also have a couple of other ones out there. You have Georgia, Armenia, but out of the three, I think Serbia is the number one choice, and we do have a couple of attorneys. A lot of expats are looking for properties in Novi Sad, so we are helping out our community. If that's of interest to you or any of these residents, you can always book a call. We can discuss if this is the best fit scenario, what is the best residency, and we can get you started with one of our attorneys in the jurisdiction of your choice. If you're specifically looking for EU, then you have Ireland, the number one passport. You also have Portugal golden visa still. That has a slightly more flexible pathway to citizenship. And then apart from that, you also have an option in France. There are 5 ways of qualifying for the French citizenship eventually. If you've missed that video, you can return to my channel, browse the library, you can find that video. And so, yeah, those are the options. So you start getting all these residencies and start waiting for natural citizenships. You sequence them or schedule them in a way at different points in time in your life. You start collecting useful citizenships along the way, and that's how you solidify. And while you're doing all these things, these residencies are going to help you diversify your portfolio and completely detach yourself from that dictatorship, so you're free. And then obviously you're in a much better situation of strength in life moving forward. All right, I hope you liked this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you're subbed. And if you are interested in knowing about the 15 citizenships that are immediate based on your circumstances, hop onto this video. This talks about all the 15 options that are available to you starting right now. All right, catch you in this one.